How's it going, everyone? This is Draoi with another damn level. Here to take a few minutes to talk about the new trait system that came out about 2 weeks ago and give you some of my thoughts on it and maybe explain a little bit on how it works. So, the new trait system limits us yet gives us a fair amount of options at the same time. What I mean by that is we can now only pick three lines or three trait lines, and then we get all three of the trait tiers in those three lines. So you get three grandmasters. However, they take away the ability for you to use just parts of another line, if that makes sense. So instead of being able to go zero, no, 0, 0, 6, 6, and 1, or 2, with the old trait system, you now just have to pick three lines, and you can't just put the two. You can't just grab the first trait in, say, a fourth line if you have the points left over. So that limits our options, but at the same time, being given a third grandmaster allows us to do a couple other things. The the effects that this has had on how some of the builds worked for even definitely Guardian that I know of has been pretty interesting because some of the integral builds that were used throughout PvP would rely on taking just the first trait in a particular tree, but now we don't have the ability to do that. On top of that change, we had changes to how conditions worked. They are now all intensity stacking, so you're able to stack up damage with particular conditions such as burning much more than you used to. That paired with some of the traits for, say, Engineer or even Ellie, have caused a little bit of turmoil in the PvP community that I've been playing in, at the very least, with how much damage can be done with some of those new conditions, in conjunction with some of the traits that have been modified, added, or combined in the new particular trait system. With all that being said, some builds being nerfed, some being made better due to how the conditions worked, and then some just not working almost at all, depending on what you were doing. When you relied on getting that first trait in, say, two different lines, and then putting the rest into the other two, that isn't something that you're able to do now. So it's caused an interesting dynamic, but I think this change is good. Maybe not necessarily in the balance sense, but in the sense of the community, I feel needed something different. The metas were getting a little stagnant, and people were, at least in my community, were starting to leave, go to other games because the meta hadn't changed really since almost the beginning of, I'd say a year ago, when the Oromancer was kind of first taken from us, and some of the other key builds that we used, like they hadn't changed at all. So it's a good mix-up for the meta, I feel, at the very least. So as to how this trait system works and how it looks, we're gonna take a look about how some of this works. This is the PvP panel. We can take a look at the hero panel. So now when you go into your build tab here, it looks quite different. You'll see your specializations, because that's what trait lines are now called, and your weapon skills with your utility bar all on the same screen. And then you get three different tabs near the top left. One for weapon skills, one for slot skills, and one for traits. I'm all for this interface change. It kind of puts everything all in one place, instead of the weird separate tabs that we'd have to look at, like weapon skills, and then we have to go to a different tab for utility skills. This is simply a quality of life change that I certainly can agree with. But the way the specializations now work, as previously said, you can only pick three. But that being said, some of the Grandmaster traits that you get can end up being quite powerful. They brought back things like the Auramancer for Elementalists with powerful aura, where you share everything, all the auras that you get, which is immensely powerful, and especially in team fights with things like Soothing Ice. Whenever you get critically hit, you get a frost aura, and that frost aura can be shared. It becomes a very powerful damage reduction and healing, even if you aren't running a particularly healy build. And you get strategies with things like Shocking Aura. You can give everyone on your team the ability to run in with a stun around them that they don't have to work for. So it brought in some new potential metas, and it brought in some changes to old builds and revived some of the previously dead ones. So there's not a whole lot here to say. You have your 3 trait lines. You can pick whichever 3 you like, and then you now go through and you only have 3 traits in each tier. And the reason for that is they've taken most of the traits and combined them in some way or another. So a good example is, let's go back to the arcane here, is the Elemental Surge. So originally we had a trait that would just reduce the cooldown on arcane skills. But then we also had a trait that we could take where the arcane skills would cause specific conditions. And then in the air line, so there's actually part that was moved. The arcane lightning used to be in the air line instead of the arcane one. All 3 of those traits got put together. So now when you take Elemental Surge as a Grandmaster, you get the conditions based on your attunement. You get the arcane lightning, more ferocity when you use an arcane skill, and you get the reduction for recharge on your arcane skills. So there's a lot of options to be said for what is there. And if you end up getting frustrated and you don't think they remove something and you can't find it, be sure to read all of the descriptions of all the 3 traits in all of the tiers, because chances are it's there, but it was just combined with something different. So I know, like, when I came in looking to redo this build with the new trait system, I was looking around for Arcane Lightning, and I thought they had taken it out, but I found it again in this the Arcane line, and it had just been moved and combined with a couple other traits. So that's my thoughts on the new trait system. I wanted to keep it short and sweet, to the point. I know this video is late, and I'm sorry. I have been sick, and I got all 4 of my wisdom teeth removed the day before the patch for this came out. So I apologize that it's late. I hope you'll stick with me. We're hopefully going to be on time and on point for some of the other changes that are coming. I hope to have a little bit of Reverent coverage coming out here very soon with the beta weekends. And just in general, getting things back up and running, since I have been out of the game for about 2 weeks. So thank you for sticking with me. We will be rehashing some of the old builds on the channel as well with the new trait system, and I hope to see you in the next video.